Good evening, everyone. The joint meeting of the City of Tigard Budget Committee and the Town Center Development Agency Budget Committee is now convened. As a friendly reminder, please remember to turn on your mic when speaking and mute your mic after you are finished. Just as a heads up, public comment has been scheduled for 6:05, which will probably be closer to around 6:08 p.m. Please make sure that you have signed in to be called upon. For those joining via webcast, the phone number to call for comment is 503-966-4101. Again, that number is 503-966-4101. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. Tonight's goal is to make monetary decisions regarding the City of Tigard's proposed budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 and the proposed budget for the Town Center Development Agency, or TCDA, for fiscal year 2023-2024. As we go through this meeting, our team will be capturing all of our comments, questions, and requests for follow-up information if necessary. And as you all know, I may go around and ask each of you if you have any questions or comments prior to concluding each section of the agenda. Let's start by asking Committee Secretary Leah Voigt to conduct our roll call.
Thank you, Chair Schlack.
Present.
Clarissa Benfield. Timothy Cadman.
Here.
Kelly Piment.
Here.
I'm Leah Voigt, and I am present. Jim Knowlton.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Heidi Lube.
Here.
Councillor Yi King.
Here.
Councillor Jeanette Shaw.
Here.
Councillor Jairaj Singh.
Here.
Councillor Maureen Wolf. Here. And Youth Councillor Nog. That concludes roll call. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to the public comment agenda item. If you wish to call in to provide testimony, please call 503-966-4101 to join the queue. Again, that number is 503-966-4101. Please state your name for the record. Please speak directly into the phone and limit your comment to 3 minutes. Kalina Plath with the Finance Department has collected the written testimony that has come to the city. She has provided each of you with a copy. Kalina will summarize those comments. Please read the public testimony.
Thank you. All committee members, you should have a copy of the written testimony that was received. I have a couple copies here if anyone else would like them. And I will summarize some of these because they're longer than I can get through in 3 minutes for each. So the first one received was from Mike Miller. And this says, I spoke in person last week. Since last week, several businesses of Tigard have complained of buildings being tagged, human waste left on doorsteps on Main Street, overflowing trash from our unhoused residents, as well as the fear of violent people entering their places of business, which scares employees and customers. About 4 weeks ago, we had a lady at the Tigard Tap House throw an empty keg shell at customers sitting at a table in our backyard, as well as grabbing glasses from customers and throwing the glasses on the ground. She was escorted out by the police out of our business only to come back. This time she ran directly at me as I was asking her to please leave. The police had to grab her and handcuff her. They told me she'd been in and out of mental hospitals several times within the last few months. These businesses, including my own, are considering paying for our own security by a private party to keep the community safe. Please consider helping businesses of Tigard by allocating funds for a walking patrol officer to at least make a presence as a deterrent for the people that are causing violence in our downtown area. Please help us before it's too late and our neighborhood community is taken over like downtown Portland. We are not that far off. Thank you for your time and consideration. Mike Miller, Tigard Tap House. Second communication was from Jimmy Brown, and he attached a letter that I can summarize a little bit of. My name is Jimmy Brown. I'm a resident of Tigard. I was a founding member of the PSAB board. and currently sit on the Tigard Police Department Chief Advisory Panel. I provided testimony of this position on May 1st and have a few additional comments to make in support of the Community Navigator position. First, he wanted to thank the members of the committee for their service, understands the daunting task, the myriad hours, and the long time it takes to do all of the work you do. He appreciates you and supports that work. Supports the funding for the Community Navigator position and its delivery for the city's budget cycle for 23-24 fiscal. At the conclusion of the PSAB work, there was a submittal and a request for funding. The city indicated it would review the position and report back to council as of the viability. He does not believe that has happened, but might be incorrect in that assertion. Was dismayed during the May 1st meeting with much of the conversation and the ultimate vote denying the position for a spot in the city budget. Was struck by the comments that members did not understand what the position would do and that there was no job description and that the position was in search of a problem and that the city should not just throw money at a problem in search of a solution. Also finds it interesting that the position was changed from community ombudsman to that of community navigator, so that it aligned more with navigating the city structure for marginalized community members and communities of color. PSAB chose not to submit a job description, not because it couldn't be done. The PSAB committee has an amazing, professional, and quite capable group, and they felt that it was the rationale that the position should be left open to the KSAs of the Tigard HR professionals. There was a note here of different areas which had ombudsman, just to name a couple: Tigard, State of Oregon, Independent Advocate for Oregon Workers, the State of Oregon Long-Term Care, Multnomah County, Oregon State University, University of Oregon, Portland Public Schools, and the International Ombudsman Association. PSAB focused on the importance of a position that centered around community needs and how best to engage in marginalized communities and communities of color with their dealings with the city. It was not just to have a position, but also to develop processes that would develop trust, communication, and engagement. Appreciate the work that has been completed by all parties and what has yet to be done. You can read the full one in your notes. Third was submitted by John Goodhouse, and there was a letter with the testimony there. If you flip your page, the full testimony is there, but a brief of that was just a couple of items within the proposed budget that he wanted to address. Part of the budget shows $800,000 towards climate actions for pandemic funds, and wanted to ask if those were ARPA funds. I believe we spoke about that in a previous meeting, delineating what the pandemic relief fund is. Wants to note that thanks the city for proposing the 2 new police officers dedicated to community policing. That there was also a considerable increase in departments, mainly mayor, council, city recorder, and city management budgets in their professional contractual services category. The TCAC has presented before the council recommendations to hire dedicated city employee to focus on economic development in downtown Tigard. And wanted to ask that the council look at ARPA funds being designated towards climate action in the downtown area while there continues to be crime, vandalism, and theft on a regular basis, which is only getting worse. The new dedicated officer for downtown is already extremely overwhelmed with calls for service and more patrols. And also discussed the TCDA 1 FTE position being a full-time 40-hour position that could be utilized to bring businesses to both the downtown triangle and city center. The amount of work that will take to recruit businesses there, has been long asked for retaining existing businesses and is more than a full-time position. Cities like Beaverton and Hillsborough do have full-time staff to recruit businesses and have seen many businesses that have left Portland relocating there. And then the fourth one submitted also came from John Goodhouse, and it is a copy of the, sorry, I have to go back to my note here. TDA list of needs and wants from October of 2021. I will just go through and read the highlighted numbers. Again, you have the whole document in front of you. They stated problems and their solutions were community strategic response and a short-term plan. The Tigard Police Department, increasing patrol hours, adding wellness checks, providing a comprehensive list of what the police are willing to do. TDA was requesting the following in a short-term plan: taking stock of problems, collaboration with already existing organizations, putting Parks and Plaza on a cleanup schedule, and then also a long-term plan of establishing outreach, controlling safe parking where able, endorsing and managing affordable housing through code enforcement changes and charters, and then also short and long-term plans of media communication response, sorry, and I'm not seeing any bullet points in that area.
Thank you for summarizing the written comments. I will now open up the floor for in-person public comments. If you have signed up to speak in person, I will call your name. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. Note that you have 3 minutes to speak. The first name on my list is Liz Newton, who would like to make public comment about the budget.
I wanted to speak tonight because after I heard the discussion last week, I wanted to say a couple things. Thanks for giving me the time to talk this evening. The first thing I wanted to do was go on record as supporting the 2 police officers dedicated to community-oriented policing in the proposed budget. We have an incredible police department of dedicated professionals who work hard every day to keep our community safe and provide the assistance individual community members need. Our officers simply can't effectively do that work without the resources they need. I also support the proposed TIF-funded position to assist in the management of projects and programs in the City Center and Tigard Triangle. Amazing things are happening and are possible in both districts. The addition of the Tigard Triangle has more than doubled the geographic area of the TIF district and significantly increased the number of projects with no increase in staffing. That is not sustainable. I am disappointed that the Community Navigator position is not funded in the 23-24 budget, but I'm more disappointed that the lack of follow-through on the PSAB recommendation to consider a Community Navigator position. We ask our community members to volunteer their time and energy to engage with the city on a wide range of issues. When community members volunteer their time to serve on a board which forwards recommendations that were thoughtfully developed and discussed, we have an obligation to follow up, especially as in this case when expectations were set by the city that the team would formally evaluate the position and carry it forward. The intent of the Community Navigator role is to help ensure that communities of color are afforded equity, justice, transparency, and accountability, using a community-centered lens to assist community members in navigating government systems of Tigard. This position was identified by PSAB members as needed beyond the important DEI work the city is engaged in. I want to thank you all for the hard work you do. I know it's hard to fund all the city's needed priorities with limited resources, but I respectfully request that we advance a formal review of the Community Navigator position now, as recommended by the PSAB, at the same time the DEI work is underway. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony and interest in the budget process. The next name on my list is John Goodhouse, who would like to make public comment about the budget.
Thank you. And I apologize for that email because the first part I detached what I sent to the city manager, some of the team, and it wasn't sure if it got to everyone. So that was before we had the first meeting. So that might have been a little confusing. But the rest of it was just submitting the letter from the TDA, and it was a similar letter came from the chamber, and it was just looking at the use for ARPA funds, especially like downtown, Tigard through the businesses to help with things like security, with security deterrents like lights or cameras or so forth. And as one of the downtown businesses, Mike Miller stated, there is problems. We also have had in the last 2 months curiosities, which a lot of people have probably gone to, have had multiple windows smashed out. He made a comment the other day. He has a trail cam set up, and he didn't realize there was so much activity in the evening from 12 at night to 3 in the morning. Officer Orth, who's there during the day, during the week that started about 2 weeks ago, is doing a great job, but really overwhelmed with just didn't realize how much there was to do. He thought he was going to spend the first week or two talking to businesses and get to know them. He hit the ground running, just being overwhelmed with everything. That position's still needed. The community officers are still needed. But what's needed for our downtown businesses, Triangle, or either the rest of the businesses, and hopefully from ARPA money or something else, is features like more lighting, cameras, security deterrents. If there can be any patrol for a short period to kind of help from what happened from the pandemic of instances where people couldn't go to jail or couldn't be arrested or couldn't have tickets, to really kind of solve and help that as we see more and more starts happening downtown. As I was telling Liz Newton, if you were to go downtown at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, downtown Tigard, it looks fine, but after you get there in the evening is when a lot of this stuff's been happening. So if we can just do something to kind of stop it before it gets worse, help the businesses, because a lot of the morale downtown is really starting to get bad right now with what's happening and trying to run a business with on top of it of having break-ins, damage, or people coming in and just disrupting the business, or using their restrooms and people have to spend their time to clean it up or clean up trash. There's been a lot of trash on those businesses' property that they have to take their time to clean up just because there's been more of an influx of kind of behavior in there that's affected the business down there. And we don't want to get to a point where the public starts seeing it. So we hope that we can contain it, get it fixed, and I just ask that we take a look at from what that TDA letter looked at with some of the ARPA money and find some ways to kind of help out the businesses downtown Triangle throughout Tigard as well.
Thank you for your testimony and interest in the budget process. Network Administrator Vang, are there any phone or any phone callers in the queue who would like to provide public testimony?
No callers.
Thank you. Is there any video testimony in the queue?
No video testimony.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'd like to thank all the community members that made comments, not just for today, but through the entire budget process. I think we've had a lot of fantastic public participation in the budget process this year, and I think it's been really helpful in guiding how the budget committee has scrutinized the proposed budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. We will consider the testimony that was provided today during deliberations this evening. Are there any questions or comments from the budget committee at this time? All right, hearing none, we will move to the next item on the agenda, which is to approve the meeting minutes from the Budget Committee meeting on May 1st, 2023. Copies of the summary minutes from May 1st have been provided to you all. Are there any changes or additions to the summary minutes? Has everyone had an opportunity to review them?
Just make a motion.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the summary minutes as written?
I move to approve the summary minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. I will now take a roll call vote for approving the summary minutes as written. If you are in favor, please say yes. If opposed, please say no. Jake Schlack, yes. Tim Cadman,
Yes.
Kelly Pemmon,
Yes.
Leah Voigt,
Yes.
Mayor Lube,
Yes.
Counselor Hu?
Yes.
Counselor Shaw?
Yes.
Counselor Singh?
Yes.
Counselor Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you. The summary meeting minutes have been approved unanimously. The next item on the agenda is a follow-up on the community grant funding requests. Cindy Trimp, our finance director, will be leading us through this follow-up. Cindy.
Good evening. As your request, we extended the grant application period for 1 additional week. We received 1 application for the Family Justice Center with a request of $10,000. And I sent out an email to everyone to vote. And so far, I've heard responses from 3 people for a suggestion of $6,000, or I'm sorry, $5,000. And so I just wanted to let you all know that, and we have included it as a technical adjustment in the budget, and so it's really up to you. However, we can remove it from the technical budget if that's something you should decide against. So I have the application too, if you're curious to hear a little bit about it. They're not here to present, but about what they do. The Family Justice Center mission is to work collaboratively with the community to provide a single location for prevention, intervention, healing, and hope for survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse in Washington County. And their vision is, by joining together, we will end family trauma in our community. And we have in the past funded this organization.
Thank you. And I believe funding last year was $6,000? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Councilor Shaw?
Just one question. This was the one that missed the deadline, but we extended it. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Mayor Lube?
I just want to say thank you to the committee, the subcommittee, and this committee in general for seeing a human being who made a mistake and giving them an opportunity to rectify that with all of the service that they do to the city of Tigard and for our community members. Again, they were here last month presenting. It all runs together. And it was just overwhelmingly upsetting and sad the level at which they're actually helping our community. And so, again, thank you for opening up the process, and I support the recommendation of adding it to the budget.
Councilor Wolf?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to add, because we don't have a particular place on this agenda to talk about this other than here to approve the addition from the center. But first of all, also appreciate the promotion. I felt like it was, front and center to offer that opportunity up to anyone to apply. So appreciated that transparency in allowing others. And I think we talked at our very first meeting about becoming more engaged as a committee on a quarterly basis. And I really want to emphasize the day that the subcommittee spent really walking through all the applications and being very thoughtful about intent and purpose of these funds. And I think when it comes to resolution or policy, we don't have that same clarity. So I just want to put it as a top priority for that first quarterly meeting, that we do discuss what is the intent, the purpose, and put that formally into writing, so there's clarity and expectation for those that apply, so it makes sense. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments about the community grant funding request? All right, well, the technical adjustment is set at $5,000. So is there a motion to approve the additional $5,000 funding request in the fiscal year 24 budget recommendation for the Family Justice Center? Councilor Shaw?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the $5,000 addition to the budget.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All right, I will now take a roll call vote for approving the additional funding request. If you are in favor, please say yes. If opposed, please say no. Jake Schlack, yes. Tim Cadman,
Yes.
Kelly Pemmond,
Yes.
Leah Voigt,
Yes.
Mayor Lube,
Yes.
Councillor Hu,
Yes.
Councillor Shaw,
Yes.
Councillor Singh,
Yes.
Councillor Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you. The additional funding request has been approved unanimously.
You didn't call on me, but I vote yes too.
Alternate. Thank you, Jim.
Was I supposed to vote on that or not?
No, as the alternate, unfortunately, I understand the position well after last year that you cannot vote no matter how eager you want to, but I appreciate your support for the additional funding, and thank you for putting that on the record.
I'm not. I'm a budget committee member.
He is.
Yeah.
He's a non. So alternate members do vote.
I don't think I'm an alternate.
Yes, you are an alternate. I'm sorry. I was just commenting on on your comment about I'm not a legitimate. In my opinion, you are. Very important that you're here and listening to our budget and weighing in. So that was
I
the
didn't
purpose
realize
of my
I had
comment.
switched to alternate this year. Okay.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
Oh, sure, no problem. Okay.
All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is budget consideration for approval. We will now hear from Kalina Plath on the technical adjustments proposed for our approval in the fiscal year 2024 budget recommendation.
Thank you. And so the first one I did not put on here, and you guys just approved it, was the $5,000 for the community service grant. And then the next here, and I also want to state, these are just changes to the appropriations. We did discuss in the previous meeting one that you won't see here, which was more of a Scrivener's error, and that was the transfer of the additional $4.9 million that showed as just one side of a transfer. It's not actually in the appropriations, so that's just a technical edit that we've made, but not a change to the appropriation. So you won't see this in the presentation because it was literally just a system glitch. Go Tyler. Had to be said at least once. Okay, so we'll start with the Community Development Department. And the first one we have there is $189,000, and that is for TCDA administration transfer to the Economic Development Department. That was included in the TCDA budget, but we did not include the actual transfer and expenditure in the original proposed budget that you saw. So it will be a transfer in of the revenue and then the payment out to the new person. And the second one, we were made aware of $141,481 for the addition of a community development block grant, also known as CDBG award. And so that will again be revenue and the planned expenditure. The next one that we have is a reduction of $175,000, and that will show in the contracts that utilize pandemic relief funds. As we were doing a reconciliation, we realized that that item needed to be removed and has already been utilized. And next, again in city management, there is a transfer of $65,000 for a contract for lobbying services, and that was in the city council division, and it needed to be moved over to city management. And then in IT, and a number of you had seen this in professional contractual services, we had $900,000 that we meant to put into the IT budget so that we could track that easily, but it stayed in its original iteration, affecting the city management, human resources, city recorder, and utility billing departments. And so that has all been moved over to the IT department for better tracking. And then here, I apologize, it's a little small there, but this shows the new proposed budget adjusted. I'm going to try and make this a little bigger on my screen so I can read it to you. So it shows the city management reduction of $56,000, a reduction in city recorder of $140,000, the engagement and innovation increase of $186,000, and an increase in investment in infrastructure of $170,481. It is a total increase of $160,481. And then also here it shows the FTE, which I have on the next slide. So adding in, as I said, the economic development TCDA project manager. And then there was also another issue. It did not affect the budget. The budgets were placed in the correct divisions, but 2 new hires were placed in sanitary sewer. Only one of those should have been in sanitary sewer, and the other one was supposed to be in stormwater. The funding was in the correct areas in the expenditure, just the FTE number ended up in the wrong spot. So this is just showing the 1 FTE increase for the TCDA position. And then this next one also is not an appropriations change, but it's something that was requested by the committee previously. And this is the adjustment to the Central Services Fund. Originally, it was showing a deficit in the ending fund balance. And I haven't included the entire piece, but just the parts that we changed. If you notice, the beginning fund balance there has a higher number. We did do a reallocation and included any savings, and as of last week, a projected spending to date. And we anticipate that the beginning fund balance, actually closer to maybe 3.7, but we put it at 3.578,000. And so that brings us to a projected ending reserve. I'm sorry, I can't see that. Oops. Does that say 94? 34,000. I can read it there. Yes. So $34,389. It is bringing it down to a very low number, and that's because we are trying to get the central services amount down as low as possible. But we do also see that we'll have savings in that department, but we wanted to bring the fund up. And that's it for my technical adjustments.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Since we're starting to get into the heart of the matters that we're gonna that we are slated to consider approval for tonight, I'm gonna be going down the list and just giving everyone an opportunity to make comment or ask questions after each of the sections under this agenda item. For myself, I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for the very clear presentation about the technical adjustments. Tim Cadman?
Thank you. Now I've just got one clarification. So from last week's list, item 48, there was a response to my question regarding Unit 1200, and the response was that the budget Unit 1200 as a whole had a duplication, and I wasn't totally tracking the 0.3 FTE needing to be at 0.5 and which one belonged where, but was that all contemplated in these technical adjustments?
Budget Unit 1200 risk management?
Yeah, yes, I think that was the right, that was that one.
Yes, that
Okay.
When we were updating some numbers, that 1,200 report that you saw
Yeah.
was combined. So the second page, which is the insurance fund. Okay, sorry, I'll repeat myself with the microphone. So 1,200 was the risk management fund. The second page of that is the insurance fund, and that was duplicated into the central services fund on that first presentation page. So everything there included an extra of that amount. It is not actually extra in any of the appropriations. That report just combined them. It should not have. The appropriations is correct and will be corrected in the actual adopted budget when we reprint that.
Okay, that's helpful. There was one other comment in there that you had made. You said you recommend that this portion goes back to the insurance fund and reduce the central services liability. That to me sounds like there is something that needed to be shifted. Is that correct or no?
It's not something that needs to be shifted. It was just a division choice and allocation. When that was done, they chose to remove any portion of an FTE funding from that and move it completely over into the other area. In discussion, yes, I said that they should possibly look at re-putting that back into the insurance fund. So that could be something that they choose to do at a later time.
Okay.
I believe it does support part of that insurance fund, and so that's something that she's going to look into. So that may be an appropriation that comes at a later date after she reevaluates that, but that would be up to that division head.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Kelly Pement.
No questions.
Leah Voigt.
Yeah, I was wondering, I think just to clarify one being a jargon word, make sure I'm understanding it correctly, Scrivener's error is just like a typo, or it would be equivalent to a typo, like a mistake, but just due to, I can't describe that well, but.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then I was wondering, in terms of, sorry, I'm realizing I don't know if this is the correct place to talk about it, but I will ask. So for example, on the TCDA budget for signs for wayfinding, right, there was funds allocated for a study to then determine, whether or not to go forward with the project. And I was wondering, for the community navigator position, if this is something that would be appropriate at all, or would need a budgetary allocation separate from, but if we want to do something like in an official, the city is working on it, study about what this position would look like and how it would be incorporated into next year and be prepared for next year, is that something that would, it sounds like it's happening anyway, is that something that would need funds set aside for it that we could discuss about adding, or is that not how that would happen?
I was going to say, and they may have the more technical answer to your question, is that, excuse me, I hope that this committee directs that this conversation continues. I know the vote last week was disappointing to a lot of community members, but in my view, for me, it was a no right now. We need to look more and answer more questions. So I sort of feel like that's actually kind of what the room was saying too, and that we give that official direction. I don't know that we have to give money to it, that it could be a quarterly budget adjustment. And I certainly hope if we decide that it is needed, that we don't wait until next year, that it becomes something quarterly, that we bring in at the first quarter and get somebody hired in quickly. So I hope that answers, but they may have the more technical response.
Nice job. I don't think it'll be more technical. I would agree. I don't think it requires the funds, and I think we heard the same message the mayor just talked about, of continuing the conversation, looking at what we're doing, what is the role of how could a navigator be potentially part of the organization. So,
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification, both of you. And no more questions.
Thank you. Jim Knowlton?
Nope, I don't have anything.
Thank you. Mayor Lube?
Yeah, my only question is under the reconciliation of the ARPA pandemic relief reconciliation, so that's just one-sided. I mean, in my accounting brain, I'm like, there's two sides to everything. Is there another side that needs to be adjusted? Is it overstated somewhere else or understated? So I guess just my accounting brain needs an answer.
So what that was is it was an allocation that was placed into the budget to pay for a contractor that they thought they were carrying forward, and it had already been spent. So it just needed to be removed.
Okay, thank you. That satisfies my brain.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Hu?
Thank you, Chair. So one of the City Council goals is to reduce houseless, and I believe one of the action item or strategies that we adopted was to help businesses affected by homelessness. So Mr. Goodhouse's comment about installing cameras and stuff just remind me that that action item is not addressed in the city manager message. So is the budget furthering the city council action item or strategy for helping businesses? If so, how is our budget reflected in that? Thank you.
thanks for that question. So, the funds are currently in the fiscal year 23 budget, and so we have some remaining funds from a previous council approval of assistance for local businesses. So, still the goal of helping them. It could be the cameras, could be other things. Having a conversation now that the event is over with Megan at the chamber to look at the role the chamber may play in helping facilitate that as well. That's still undetermined if they are going to play a role, but there are funds in this fiscal year.
Thank you.
Councilor Singh?
No questions, thanks.
Councilor Wolf?
Council President, who I appreciate the question and just to kind of have that conversation. And City Manager Reimer, I know that we talked about this at a prior council meeting. So could you give a range, kind of the expectation of the funding? I believe that was part of the conversation as well, that we were hoping to direct to support downtown.
The total dollar amount is still to be determined, but what's available is $250,000. And so the program and all that is still to be worked out, but there is $250,000 of the previous approval by the previous council.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments at this time? I have one topic, and it's just something I want to follow up on. I want to thank Leah Voigt and Mayor Loop for raising the topic of the community navigator again, and especially sort of that phrase I think I used last time. It's a not now, but it's something we definitely want to look into more. Is there a desire on the committee to make some sort of formal motion requesting that more information be gathered by city management over the next fiscal year about the position, or would that be unnecessary? Yeah, just Yeah, it's not a yeah. I'm just wondering if it's something to vote on to say, you know, we express our interest and we would like to request that city management look into this further, formally request that they look into it further.
I mean, I also think we've had a lot of conversation, and I don't foresee our city teammates, the staff, all of a sudden not paying attention to this. They will hear from Liz Newton in a couple of weeks. And so, in a good way, I love that she's, you know, so I think we can give the directive. I think we kind of already have given the directive. But it may be loud and clear for the community if we say direct city management to continue this conversation with the expectation that it comes back soon on what this position would look like. I don't know if we want to define soon or, you know, Councilor Wolf?
Well, I guess I was hoping, and I'll let City Manager Reimer confirm if the timeline would be fair, but that first quarterly meeting, I see 2 agenda items, hopefully to clarify social services grants, the expectation, and then maybe an update on the purpose of the position, what that would look like, whenever that is. And I don't think that that's been defined, but I think that's a fair request on the agenda.
Yeah, I think it would make sense to set a future agenda item for that meeting when it is scheduled. City Manager Reimer, does that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think we can start, some of the work, continue the conversations, on both those items, and then identifying when that, first meeting would be, Q1 of the next fiscal year is what I've been envisioning. So we're in May, so probably that August-ish time might be appropriate. Give us a few months to work on those things, and then come back with at least some well thought out ideas for this group. And so I think it's, the 2 key takeaways are what you just referenced.
Mayor Loop.
Can I just ask that maybe it feels like August is really, really far away from a conversation in which we probably should have done, I think, a better job having earlier. Would it be possible to get an update to City Council along the way so it doesn't feel like it's something that we've forgotten about for the next 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're going to start quarterly updates. Kathy Nyland's going to be taking the lead.
Okay.
And so we have one coming up in June 27th. In June. And so
okay.
we can incorporate some of the initial thinking there, as well as some of the other items that we talked about like last week, trying to compile that so the community, the council, the budget committee have understanding of the variety of things that we're doing. So absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you.
And on those, anytime there's an item like that, we'll make sure the budget committee is aware if it's something that's going directly to council, just so if you want to tune in.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on that topic or any matters regarding technical adjustments? I'm not sure if a directive requires any more formal discussion on it. Leah Voigt.
I don't have any discussion. I would like to make a motion to adopt the technical adjustment as written into the budget.
Am
I jumping ahead of myself? Sorry.
I think you're getting ahead of the schedule, but I will mark down your interest in approving these technical adjustments, and if there are many motions to be made, and if anyone's interested, please send me a Post-it note, and I'll get you the language with the numbers. All right, on that note, the next item on our agenda is everyone's favorite topic, state revenue sharing. We will now open the public hearing on state revenue sharing. Oregon state law requires that the city must hold a public hearing to receive state revenue sharing. Cindy, would you please discuss state revenue sharing?
Yes, as Jake mentioned, Oregon law ORS 221.770 allocates a share of state liquor taxes on a formula basis. This law requires cities to annually pass an ordinance or resolution to request the state revenue sharing. In order for the city to receive this state revenue sharing, we must levy property taxes in the preceding year. And the law also requires a public budget hearing. And this hearing, this budget committee serves as that hearing right now. It's required. The city estimates receiving about $745,500 of state revenue sharing in the next upcoming fiscal year. That's for cigarette tax, liquor, marijuana, and state gas tax. Go on to the next one.
Sure. Are there any questions or comments about the liquor tax funds? All right, let's move to the next one.
Okay. The next is our debt service and levy property tax rate. It's required that the budget committee levy a property tax rate every year of $2.5131, very technical, per 1,000 assessed value to levy local option rate of, and also another levy rate of 0.29 for every 1,000 assessed value, as well as a levy to the debt service for the general obligation bonds of $2,792,000. The tax rate amount approved sets a limit on taxes that the assessor can extend on our roll.
All right, thank you. As I mentioned, I'll go down the roll and just give everyone a chance to ask questions or make comments about state revenue sharing. I have no questions or comments at this time. Tim Cadman?
No questions, thanks.
Kelly Pemmon?
No questions right now.
Leah Voigt?
No questions, thank you.
Jim Knowlton?
No questions.
Mayor Lube?
No questions.
Councillor Hu?
None for me.
Councillor Singh?
No questions or comments.
Councillor Wolf?
No comments. No questions.
All right. At this point, a motion is required to receive the city's portion of state revenue sharing. Is there a motion to receive the $745,500 in state revenue sharing for fiscal year 2024? And if we could just move the slide back so we can get these numbers nice and visible for people. No, state revenue sharing. Yeah. There we go. Is there a motion?
Can I ask a question real quick?
Kelly Pemmon.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't want this? Okay, then I'm just going to do it. Oh, Lauren, I have to read something. Okay, a motion to receive the city's portion of state revenue sharing. To receive $745,500 in state revenue sharing for fiscal year 2024. Wait for a motion.
I second.
Councillor Hu seconds. All right, I will now take a roll call vote. If you're in favor, please say yes. If opposed, please say no. Jake Schlack. Oh, let me get my pad of paper ready. Last time I took votes, my tallies got all wrong and we had 11 voting members. I don't know how that happened. All right. All right. We'll start the roll call vote now. Jake Schlack, yes. Tim Cadman.
Yes.
Kelly Pemmon.
Yes.
Leah Voigt.
Yes.
Mayor Lube.
Yes.
Councillor Hu. Councillor Singh.
Yes.
Councillor Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you. There are 8 yes votes and 2 absent voting members, so the motion is carried. Leah Voigt.
Youth Counselor Nog is not a voting member, to my understanding, so there's one absent voting member.
Shaw.
Oh.
Yes, Counselor Shaw
right.
stepped away.
Okay, sorry. Yep.
Yeah, no worries.
I was looking at I was zoomed too far out. My
Yes.
apologies.
All good. All right. The next motion, there is another motion that we need to take. A motion is required to levy the permanent property tax rate of $2.5131 per $1,000 plus an additional 29 cents per $1,000 local option levy property tax, and to levy the debt service for general obligation bonds of $2,792,000. I motion to levy the permanent property tax rate of $2.5131 per $1,000 plus an additional 29 cents per $1,000 local option levy property tax, and to levy the debt service for general obligation bonds of $2,792,000. Is there a second?
This is Tim. I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further question or comment? All right, I will take a roll call vote. Jake Schlack, yes. Tim Cadman,
Yes.
Kelly Pement,
Yes.
Leah Voigt,
Yes.
Mayor Lube,
Yes.
Counselor Hu,
Yes.
Counselor Singh,
Yes.
Counselor Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you. There are 8 yes votes and 2 absent, so the motion is carried. We are now ready to approve. Oh, it's the big one now. We are now ready to approve the budget with any budget committee and technical adjustments. Is there any further, before we get to this motion, which is a substantial motion, are there any further comments or questions at this time? All right. Is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 City of Tigard budget with technical adjustments as presented earlier, totaling $294,225,272? And if anyone's interested in making a motion, I can bring the agenda over for the language. I'll do it. I'll go into my 1970s game show host microphone moment. Thank you. All right, right there.
I would like to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 City of Tigard budget with technical adjustments as presented earlier, totaling $294,225,272.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Tim. I'll second.
Thank you. All right. I will now take a roll call vote to approve the fiscal year 2024 City of Tigard budget. If you are in favor, please say yes. If you are opposed, please say no. Jake Schlack, yes. Tim Cadman,
Yes.
Kelly Pement,
Yes.
Leah Voigt,
Yes.
Mayor Lube,
Yes.
Counselor Hu,
Yes.
Counselor Singh,
Yes.
Counselor Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you. There are 8 yes votes and 2 absent. The budget passes. Woo! Yeah, all right. Finally, a motion is required to approve the Town Center Development Agency fiscal year 2024 budget. Is there a motion to approve? It's the last motion. Please, this is valuable.
Let me get my glasses back on. Where am I? Okay. So, a motion is required. Oh, no, sorry. Oh, go down. Right there. Is there a motion to approve? We have a motion to approve the, sorry, you tell me where I'm supposed to be reading.
You motion to approve, so I motion to approve.
Okay, sorry. It's my second motion. I motion to approve the Town Center Development Agency FY 2024 budget. Is there a second? Or do we use it?
Is there a second?
This is Councilor Singh. I second.
Thank you. I will now take a roll call vote to approve the fiscal year 2024 TCDA budget. If you are in favor, please say yes. If opposed, please say no. Jake Schlack, yes. Tim Cadman,
Yes.
Kelly Pemmond,
Yes.
Leah Voigt,
Yes.
Mayor Lube,
Yes.
Councillor Hu,
Yes.
Councillor Singh,
Yes.
Councillor Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you. There are 8 yes votes and 2 absent. The TCDA budget passes. Woo. Thank you. City Manager Reimer, the microphone was handed to you. Do you have anything to say? I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the room.
Yeah, I just wanted to be able to share some thank yous, but if it's now's the right time.
Yeah, I mean, the next item on the agenda is to adjourn the Budget Committee. So I want to thank the Budget Committee for their time and commitment to approving the fiscal year 2024 budget. And we're going to have an opportunity for final comments among the Budget Committee as well as city team members. So City Manager Reimer, since the microphone's
Thank you,
green.
Chair Schlack. I want to start by thanking all of you, those that are also joining us from the Budget Committee virtually. This is a big ask of all of you, as you know, and there's many hours that are spent investing into this document. We appreciate your thoughtfulness, the level of detail, the questions that you ask us, the follow-up that you're asking us to bring back, and that just helps make it a better document. As we talked about the very first day sitting in this room, we wanted to make sure that we were accountable and transparent and open with the community, and I think we've achieved that, and all of you helped that with the questions that you've shared and what you're looking for moving forward. I think that's been very healthy for us to have some of the to-dos as we now move more towards meeting quarterly and get a chance to have a little more of a cadence to these meetings and building up to the actual budget process. So thank you. I also want to thank you personally. I think from my standpoint, you did a great job being the chair. So kudos to you and running some well-organized meetings. And thank you. And I also want to thank all of our teammates that have been involved. Many are in this room right now. Some are on the screen, as you can see, and then many are not joining us today. But I can assure you that there's been thousands of hours invested into this budget document, starting late last fall with all the work that happened. When we start the process, it feels like, oh boy, are we going to, and then before you know it, we start to get some momentum and the pieces start to come together. But there's a lot of, just like you do, there's a lot of that back and forth and clarifications that's required from the budget team that's sitting here, from the departments like Lisa and Joe and others that are verifying numbers, checking numbers. That all brings, a much more quality document in front of you. So, and then last, as you already said, thanking the community. This was great having so much involvement this year. I think in all my years, it's probably the most I've seen in terms of involvement by a community. Meeting after meeting after meeting, being here, advocating for what they think is important for here. And I know all of you have heard the messages that they've brought forward. I know all of us have heard them too. So we look forward to coming back with some of those follow-up items to continue the conversation. especially around the community navigator and some of the other improvements that we can do. So with that, I just want to say thank you again. We appreciate it. We look forward to the quarterly meetings now. It'll be a nice way to work through the year. So thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Councilor Wolf?
I apologize, you all. I am headed to the Tigard-Tualatin School District Board meeting to cheer on our IGA agreement on Safe Routes to School. And so I just wanted to excuse myself now that we're adjourned. But thank you, Chair Schock. You did a great job. And thank you all.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Mayor Lube?
Yeah. Excuse me. I just want to say that the budget is one of the most important things that we do every year, and it truly shows what our priorities are as a community. And, you know, I have to agree. I love the engagement. I love the deep discussions. I love us being vulnerable about what we're passionate about. The discussions that we had around this table make our community stronger, and that's because everybody showed up with the commitment of bringing their full selves and their opinions and their beliefs to this table. So thank you to each of you, our staff, as well as our community members and our other counselors. We may not always agree, but I think Tigard is stronger as we continue these discussions and move forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilor Hu?
I agree with everything everybody has said so far. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited about budget committee going forward, going to be meeting more frequently so we can have more, ongoing conversation about this, and including community navigator. I just want to say that community navigators, my one-to-one topic with city manager in July, and I don't forget about things. So he will hear from me. So just to let you know that I will not forget about it. So glad everybody, is on board with this. So thank you so much.
Kathy Nyland?
More of a technical correction. So I will be briefing council on June 27th, just taking steps on how we can be a more inclusive community. So mark your calendars now, like June 27th. And just thank you to everyone. I am a wonk, a nerd, all of those kind of words, and I love budget. I love developing a budget. I love the number game and telling the story, because as the mayor said, this is the most important thing that a city does. It captures who we are, what we believe in, our values and vision, and it provides a roadmap of where we're going and why. So thank you everyone for all your time.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments? Cindy Trimp?
I just want to give a shout out to my team. Good job. Woo!
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you everyone for your participation, both the city staff, the budget committee, and the public this year. I agree with the sentiment that the public participation this year has been incredible. I think last year when I was on the committee, I think we got a couple written comments. I don't think anyone showed up for video or call comments, and we had well over a dozen public comments in person this year, which is always great. So I look forward to keeping up that public participation and promoting it for future budget committee meetings. It sounds like the next time we'll meet will be probably sometime in Q1 of fiscal year 2023-2024, and I look forward to seeing you all then. With that, the fiscal year 2024 City of Tigard Budget Committee is now adjourned.